6, which is general finance. Item A is schedule of payments. Any questions or queries, or are you happy to endorse those? Councillor Johnson, please.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I didn't send a questionnaire, but I've just been looking through and I see we spent £792 on councillor diaries, which equates to about £45.50 for each diary. Can I ask that a full review is taken for next year to see if this is indeed value for money? Sounds like a huge amount of money to me. And whether or not we should be continuing with them, how many people use them. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs Smallacombe, do you wish to make any comment on that?
No, I went out to the tender again this year and that was best price I could get. I was told councillors wanted them, so I didn't.
Thank you. So, Mrs Johnson, you're asking for a review to be done?
Before we spend that kind of money again, so I think that is not best use of money.
I mean, I think what we need to say to councillors is that if you feel you need one, then that's fine, but don't say, yes, I need one, and then chuck it in the corner and not actually use it. I mean, it does have its uses because it does have our standing orders and various things in, which is quite useful reference. They are available in this room, should you want to look at them.
Can I just make the point, though, the fewer I order, the more expensive per unit they are. So it's no good 5 people saying they want them, because they'll probably cost 65 quid each.
Right. Is there anything else on the schedule of payments? Sorry, Councillor, yeah, you're right. I did notice it just now. I keep
I'm a bit confused.
We know.
Some of the large payments on the bill payment account, they don't have anything as to say what they are. It's just, you know, page 4773, for example, and I can't see where it was unless I'm being totally thick. Because I've gone through bits and I can't see. But there's some very large payments with nothing said. Salaries one always says salaries, but some of the others don't. There's an 18,000, that's the one 4777. Doesn't say what it is.
Can I just say for Councillor Hutton's benefit, we encourage all councillors to look at these ahead of the meeting, and if they have questions, present them to the clerk or the assistant to the town clerk before the meeting so that they have sufficient opportunity to research and get the information and knowledge. But that doesn't preclude people asking questions about it on the night if they hadn't picked it up previously. I don't know whether we're in a position to respond to that particular point that's being raised.
Sorry, can you just point me to the one at the bottom of page 4777? Is that what you're saying? 18,859?
Yeah.
That's a total of all the ones above it.
Oh no, I really am being thick, am I?
Could I?
It's not like
Jan, I'm going to come in for a sums lesson.
Could I suggest that in view of the lateness of the hour, that if there are specific issues, perhaps councillors would like to come in and go through them outside of this forum, unless there's something.
I've never had to ask a question before in all the years I've sat here.
I think what you'll find is it doesn't go forward. It's the way that the accounts print. But if you went back to that section and added up each of those individual ones. So starting at £74.40 on 4774 and then £918.142 and go forward to where I've signed and the financial administrator signed, I think you'll find 18,859 is the total of all those sub amounts.
Okay.
Any other questions?
If you want me to look at it in more detail, obviously I can do so tomorrow. But
no,
off the top of my head, that's
I'll come in for a sums lesson.
Any other questions on 6A then, the schedule of payments? Are you happy to endorse them? Thank you. 6B, budget monitoring report. Any questions on that? Okay, you're all happy with that? And item C, which is the audit report. Any questions on the audit report or comments, queries that you wish to make?
Lots of green.
I beg your pardon?
Lots of green.
Let's just hope that people are not green, colourblind in that case.
Yeah, I know I've got to go in a minute as well, but the red, the priority with regard to the asset manager, Can you just talk about that? Because that seems like nitpicking at its worst.
Mr. Clark, please.
That's what auditors are for. Yeah, I have passed that on to our accountants as a comment. I think the difficulty is that because this time round there was some work which was required to be done remotely and some which wasn't. At the time the auditor actually came, the copy of the asset register he had was not the fully updated one. There is a fully updated one, and as I say, I have referenced that to the council's accountant. But I think, at the end of the day, if an auditor isn't finding something, they're not doing their job, whatever it may be.
Well, no, I think it's right that it's read. It says that at the time, our asset register did not agree with the value stated in the annual return. That's actually quite fundamental. So I think red is not inappropriate in that case. And our asset register should be up to date. There's no reason for it not to be, really. You have a further query? No? Anyone else on the audit report? So you've considered it and you've received it? Sorry?
The internal auditor, the auditors, friends. Because it used to be part of the same company, they're not anymore.
I think no. They are separate and distinct bodies.
We had that conversation when we interviewed them.
That's a technical description. So if we move on then please to item 7, which is the Budget and Policy Committee meeting. The minutes of the meeting held on the 29th of August, which are enclosed, and you're requested to bring to the meeting the agenda and associated documents. As I chaired the meeting, I will present these minutes. Please stop me if there is anything that you disagree with or that you wish further items. So starting at minute 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, 116. I have a question myself under 116D. We agreed that publicity would be issued regarding the nature and duration of the works following the pre-start meeting on the 5th. Did that happen? Because I haven't seen any.
There's an article going in the Tavistock Times this week.
Right. Thank you.
And there's also an entry on the council's Facebook page already. I saw it this evening.
Okay. Councillor Hutton's looking quizzical. We're carrying out some major works in the Plymouth Road Cemetery, which shouldn't actually cause massive disruption for people visiting, but we felt it was important that, because a lot of people do go in, they're expecting a quiet period, to visit relatives' graves and so on, and we were anxious to make sure that people understood we were doing it for a good reason, what we were doing and how long it was likely to last, hence we wanted to publicise it. Councillor Whitcomb.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There is a little leaflet going to be distributed amongst the pannier market people as well as the shops, telling them that the market will be closed, etc., etc. And,
Right.
Okay, I don't know.
This is the pannier market re-roofing we're talking about now, is it?
Yes.
Right,
yeah,
okay,
yes,
thank
yeah.
you. Anything else, members, on 116? 117? And 118 will have to wait until we go back into part 2 again in the moment. So,
Mr. Mayor, can I just ask, and I appreciate that we will deal with the part 2 items in part 2, but the actual recommendations in those will be in the public domain. I just wonder whether or not, in relation to a correction to the recommendation in minute number 119, you would be happy to take that now, insofar as it falls within the public domain. If members then wish to have a separate discussion in more detail in the closed session, we could do so.
sounds like a stick. Sounds like a stitch-up to me, members, but carry on.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. It's just to say that there's actually an omission or an error on my part in relation to the recommendation in minute 119. That should be the second part of the recommendation, what you've got, which is about improving and endorsing the inclusion of the additional doors cost. But there should be a first part to that, which is to approve and accept the lowest tender for the works to the pannier market as submitted by A.D. Williams in the sum of £551,589. If you're agreeable, we will add that in, and that will actually then cover off what that minute needs to address. I should point out to you that the reason why we're doing this is this has in part come out of a conversation that I had with our external auditor yesterday, and she has pointed out to us as part of their work on the annual return that whilst we went through the full tender process previously for the Butcher's Hall, and we went on Contract Finder, we advertised it, we accepted the lowest tender, we reported the cost, we reported the payments that were made all the way through. The one error that was made, and that's down to me, was that I didn't bring it, because it exceeded the threshold of delegation to officers, I did not bring it before members in the council for the actual approval and award of that contract, which that should have happened. So although the rest of the process was sound, that was something which should have been done. And it's really to, A, flag that to you, and B, to invite you to consider whether or not you might wish, by way of seeking some form of statement of assurance or comfort, if you like, to the auditor. We can't make a decision tonight, but whether you might wish to express the view that as a council you endorse and ratify the prior award of the Butcher's Hall contract to the lowest tenderer in May of this year, of last year, to A.D. Williams for the Butcher's Hall contract. Now, that's just really by way of providing some comfort to the auditor that this issue has been flagged to you, that you're aware of it prior to them actually issuing their report. Either way, it's very much a matter for you.
Thank you for that, but I think we're going to have to take any decision on that in part two, aren't we? Because the item that you're dealing with at the moment is actually in part two, is it not?
Because this is actually relating to a previous contract for the Butcher's Hall, which has been awarded, has been completed. That is now a matter which is in the public domain, I would say, Mr Mayor.
Right, but the recommendation on page 5 is not in the public domain, is it?
Yes, anybody will be able to see that in that set of minutes.
Right. So I'm curious as to know why any of that is therefore in part 2 in any event.
The reason why that's in part 2 is because the accompanying report for that sets out in quite considerable detail the basis on which the assessment of the tenders was taken place and the criteria taken into account. So,
right, but there is no need for these minutes, which is what we're accepting or otherwise at the moment, to be in part 2, is there?
No, these minutes are a public document, sir.
Right. It is brought before us tonight as confidential items for recommendation to council, because we've passed 118, which was public bodies admission to meetings.
That's right. But sorry, I'm not explaining myself well. The minutes are public minutes of a part 2 discussion which took place at Budget and Policy.
Yep.
There has to be a public minute of every part 2 discussion.
Yep.
Sometimes there will be both a public minute and a confidential minute. On this occasion, the minutes here are a public minute which anybody will be entitled to look at and to see. What they won't be entitled to do is to see the Part 2 report, which provide the granular detail which led to this point. So it's a little bit like with legal proceedings. You will have a Part 2 conversation around the legal proceedings that you are going to issue, but then there will be a public minute which says we're going to take legal proceedings.
Right, but with the presentation of these minutes and their acceptance thereof is actually not in part 2, is it? It doesn't need to be.
You're quite right. It doesn't need to be unless members wish to discuss factors material to the classification as part 2 in the original reports.
Right. So, let me be clear then. You would like us to take 119 in part 1 before we move into part 2. And you would like the recommendation on page 5 to have an additional item within it which says that the tender price from AD Williams at 551,589, as I recall. To recommended for approval, and you also want, would you like to put some words around what you want for the Butchers Hall, so that we're clear what we're talking about?
Yes, I think in relation to the Butchers Hall, it would be for the Council to express a consensus view, so it's not a decision, that it endorses and ratifies the prior award of the Butchers Hall contract to the lowest tenderer in May 2016 to AD Williams in the sum of...
Off the top of my head, Town Clerk, it was 277,488 and 51 pence plus VAT.
Thank you.
The General Manager was notified of this at about 1800 hours this afternoon, so he's had plenty of time to get the figures dredged out before. So, again, for Councillor Hutton's benefit, when we present various minutes such as this, what we are doing is accepting the recommendations as they come before the Council. So if someone has an objection, unless they object at the point the minutes are being discussed, it automatically becomes a Council decision. The one exception to that is planning, because the Planning Committee, or Planning, is it called, what do they call? Plans Committee, I'll get it right in a minute. Plans Committee has delegated authority from this Council to respond to consultation, and their response is on behalf of the Council, so we're not in a position to modify that. They've already made their response before it reaches this Council. So, members, are you happy with what the Clerk has just outlined?
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Okay. So, I'm now going to pause on the adoption of these minutes because we've reached the Public Bodies Admissions to Meetings Act. So we'll come back to 120 in a moment. And we will now move on to the Plans Committee, item 8, which is the 8th of August and the 29th of August. And again, for Councillor Hutton's benefit, we normally ask whoever chairs the meeting to present the minutes to this meeting. It may be someone other than the normal chairman if someone has stood in for that chairman, but whoever it is, we would normally ask them to present them and offer them for confirmation. We would expect a member of that committee to second that proposal, and then the Council as a whole agrees it or disagrees it, because whether we were at the meeting or not. As I say, the Plans Committee is a little bit of an oddity in a way, because we can't actually refuse to accept it because they have delegated authority. Chairman of Plans, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Plans Committee of Tuesday, the 8th of August. Minutes numbers 84 through to 92. This meeting included notification of an application that I think had come in earlier the same day, or certainly within 24 hours, for a major development on the Mount Kelly site. And at this meeting of the 8th of August, we agreed to convene a special... Mount Kelly. We agreed to convene a special meeting on the 22nd of August to consider that application. I don't believe the minutes of the special meeting of the 22nd of August were circulated in this bundle, is that correct?
Not according to my agenda, it was only the 8th of August and the 29th Indeed. Of August.
In which case, if I might briefly tell you about the meeting on the 22nd of August, I regret you haven't got the paperwork in front of you, but on the meeting of the 22nd of August, the formal part of the meeting was preceded by a presentation by a representative of the governors of Mount Kelly College and also a representative of the developers, who informed us of what was being proposed. Members of the public were present at that meeting, some 19 or so. Many questions were asked, and following that, the committee considered that application, and the result is recorded in the minutes as support. Also in that meeting, we took the rather unusual measure of recalling a decision that had been made on the 8th of August for reconsideration as a result of new information that had become available, and we felt maybe a material consideration. The committee was asked whether it wished to reconsider its decision. It did, and our decision was actually changed, and that is minuted at minute number 100C. Moving on to the meeting of the 29th of August, minutes 102 to 110. Draw your attention to minute 106 relating to town planning issues. This relates to an application for a licence to sell wines and spirits and to play live and recorded music at a premises in West Street. We had a number of representations from local residents who were opposed to this. Application was considered carefully by the committee and we voted to object to the application. I don't believe there were any other issues in that meeting that were likely to be controversial. So, Mr. Mayor, I beg to move.
Is there a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Whitcomb. Everyone in agreement? Thank you very much for that. So if we now move on, I think, to item 10, I think is where I've got to. No, it's not. Item 9, service reports. I ticked it before I got there. To receive for information the following service reports. Item 1, General Manager. Any questions or comments, please, for the General Manager? Councillor Moody, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one question about the after the drainage works at the top end of Bannerwell Street, the reinstatement, the reinstatement of the Bannerwell Park. Do we have a date on when that's going to occur? And can I also have an undertaking or assurance that the gravel path that is led down, because it's a very well used park for dog walkers. So 2 points. When is it going to happen, and to ensure that the gravel path is reinstated? But I do understand that the bridge is going to be rebuilt as well. So when is that going to happen?
General Manager, please.
Yes to the second question. Haven't got a confirmed date for the first question yet, but I will chase it up tomorrow.
Thank you for that. Anything else on the General Manager's report? Item 2, the Works Department report, which is enclosed. Any questions on that? Observations, comments? Negatory? Town Hall and Pannier Market report? Questions, comments, or... Councillor Whitcomb, please.
That is the little leaflet that they hope to distribute through the Pannier Market. So we hope to get it out as soon as possible, I hope. So the traders can give it out to customers to tell them about the re-roofing, etc.
Okay, at some point, Councillor Hutton, you might want to get a briefing from the General Manager about the whole issue of the Pannier Market closing because of re-roofing. It's a little bit lengthy to go into this evening, but you may find it helpful to get a briefing at some point. Sorry, been done, is it? Oh, right, okay. Well, excellent. How did he have spare time to do that, then? You're not working hard now.
End of the night.
Yeah. Okay. Item 10 then, finance and other matters. To receive information on the following, the report of the Assistant to the Town Clerk. Any comments? Assistant to Town Clerk, do you wish to say anything? Town Clerk, anything you wanted to say now? Councillor Whitcomb, could you turn off your microphone, please?
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's all right, I don't mind, thank you. Item B then is Tavistock Business Improvement District, minutes of the meeting. Any comments? Councillor Johnson, please.
Interested to see that Nigel Eady was an attendee and then he sent apologies, so I'm not sure how you can be both. Perhaps I could ask Councillor Smith to get clarification at the next meeting if he attends.
I can confirm that he was actually there.
Was it a virtual Nigel Eady or a real one? No? Hologram, yes, could well be. Item 10C, Destination Oakhampton. Councillor Mrs Johnson, is there anything you wanted to draw to our attention from that?
Not from this report, which seems an awful long time ago. This was the 10th of May, wasn't it? We did have a minibus which took people up to Oakhampton. It was a really good day. It's a good trip out on the train there. Hopefully, they had lots and lots of people went on the actual train, and there has been a evidence provided. There's a guy called Richard who has on each train taken a survey of where people come from, the purpose of their visit, how much they intended to spend. All that data has been collected on each and every train. Last train was last Sunday, so they have now finished because it was a summer Sunday service only. I have noticed that Mike Davies has met on a number of occasions with Gary Streeter, who has, I guess, a portfolio to do with transport and railways within the government, and they really are trying hard to get regular weekday services throughout the year. And first of all, we were told there was going to be a station by December 2017. Now they're talking about Oakhampton East being operational by 2018. So it is moving forward. There are a lot of people and there are a lot of groups, not just Destination Oakhampton, who are working towards bringing regular train services back to Oakhampton, and then hopefully, within time, perhaps back to Tavistock. But at least it's a step closer for us, because anybody who's going to travel to London, I would doubt if they would wish to go all the way to Plymouth and then do the Dawlish line to go to London. So positive steps in the right direction, I feel.
Thank you for that. Mike Davis is a resident of Oakhampton, is a West Edinburgh councillor. Gary Streeter, as you probably know, is the MP for sort of the north end of Plymouth and down through there. He's actually now one of the secretaries to the Treasury, I believe, in some capacity or others, has got quite a bit of influence on things like money being spent. And I was talking to Mike Davies the other night, and I think it's reasonably safe to say that that line to Oakhampton will reopen. I think that's pretty much guaranteed now. Virtually everything that needs to be done has been done, and it's highly, highly unlikely that it will not reopen as far as the Oakhampton original station is concerned. In terms of whether there's a park and ride and whether there are other stations or whatever, that's a bit more into the future, but it looks as near certain as it can be that that will actually take place now. He's had some assurances from government ministers as well, so I think that we can, can't put a timescale on it, but I don't think there's much in the way of a hurdle now. I mean, the line itself is there, it is still being used, so there isn't any major difficulties, I think. Item D is Town Hall and Pannier Market Consultative Group. Any questions or comments? No. Item E, any update from or questions to council representatives serving on other outside bodies in connection with the work of those bodies. I've got nothing specific that I can report back from the Dartmoor National Park. The consultation on and consideration of the consultation on potential parking charges for 4 car parks within the park is ongoing. There's been some quite positive news from DEFRA in terms of their ongoing support for national parks in general, and hopefully there won't be any substantial budget cuts for the coming year. Councillor Mrs Johnson.
Thank you. I just wanted to update some members on Kingdom House Community Association. As many of you know, we had an open day saying the facility was under threat. We had over 50 people filling the hall in Kingdom House. Lots of positive suggestions, lots of volunteers came forward. There's a new working group that's working on things like a new website, publicity and promotion, and at the same time there are trustees there who are working on grants, because as you know, we need about £100,000 by next May to so we can draw down the heritage money that's been promised to us. We are working up an application to the Greater Dartmoor Leaf, which we are having a lot of support from Sophie at Greater Dartmoor Leaf, so that's really helpful. But there's a lot of work going on. I sent Councillor Williamson a copy of our business plan, which I hope he was well received by the Chamber of Commerce, and that is a working document. It's available to anybody who wants a copy. We are working incredibly hard to make sure that that facility continues for the next 25 years. It was originally purchased in 1977, 40 years ago, and we want to see it continue into the future. But we've got to make it watertight first before we can move things on. Thank you.
Anyone else from any other outside body want to report back? Councillor Squire.
Whilst I'm not a designated or appointed councillor, I do sit on the West Devon Safe Havens body, which is the body in response to West Devon Borough Council's offer of accommodation to refugees. There is another charitable body which is concerned with that movement, and I, as a councillor, along with Oakhampton councillors, sit on that particular body. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Squire. Any other councillor wish to report back at all? Councillor Williamson?
I'll just say that in support of Kingdom House, I did speak at the Chamber of Commerce meeting on the 7th of August, whether it appears in the minutes or not, but I emphasised some of the key points in the business plan and the longevity of its being held by the trust, the need of support.
Thank you. Any other councillor? Councillor Palfrey, please.
I attended the Arms House meeting. Yeah, sorry. Attended the Arms House meeting.
Right, you don't need to follow Councillor Williamson.
Not a great deal to report. It was quite fortunate on their part that they had a fire safety check prior to the events in London, so they were very clear on that, but nothing else to report, really.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other councillor?
Yes, I've got
Councillor, what do you call it? Ward, that'll do, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The subject is Santa's Grotto.
What?
I recently attended a meeting of the Lions and Rotary, representing the council, and basically what they're proposing is to build what amounts to a small theatre set, which would be a darkened area with a silhouetted profile of the buildings of Tavistock, and in the middle of it a very handsome sleigh where Santa will sit and distribute largesse to fee-paying children and their parents. The hope is that this would be installed in Butchers Hall, not this year, unfortunately, but in subsequent years. And they're looking for support from the Chamber of Commerce, from BID and from ourselves, both to meet the funding of its construction, but also to provide it with a home for it to be implemented, but also a home for it to be constructed within and stored. And we're optimistic that we may be able to help with that. I subsequently had a discussion with Town Clerk and fed back some advice and guidance to the Lions and to Rotary, and we will see whether Santa will visit, if not this year, then perhaps next.
Okay, thank you for that. We'll move on to item 11 then, which is to receive such communications, blah, blah, blah. I would just make a plea. The Tavistock Town Council Civic Service is due to be held on the 24th of September in St Eustatius Church. You don't have to be religious to turn up to that. You don't have to be any particular religion. It is a civic service. And it is nice to see councillors there. It is a good opportunity to see other members because we invite you back to the town hall afterward for light refreshments. But a lot of people do come back, so it's a good opportunity for networking. And it also looks good if we can get a turnout. And as I say, even if you don't regularly go to church or go to church at all for that matter, the service is intended to be friendly and available to all. You will be asked to arrive ahead of time because we process into the church, preceded by the mace bearer usually. So once everyone is in and seated, we go in regular order as dictated by the clerk and occasionally by the assistant to the clerk as well. We go in like Noah's animals did, 2 by 2, and we walk up and we sit in reserved seats. And your clerk will be entertaining you with one of the readings, I believe. Is that correct?
I believe so, sir.
And you're all welcome to come and sing. But it is nice to see as many councillors there as possible, just because it's a good event to go to. And as I say, you don't need to. It's not a heavy high church. It's not a ferociously religious ceremony at all. And it's a useful way for you to be seen by the people that you represent as well. So you're all welcome, and I would like and hope that as many of you can come as can. And can I also just make an advance announcement on Remembrance Sunday? The Town Council meets here and then parades across to the memorial. Now, I know that some of you will have other commitments at other remembrance services. I'm always embarrassed that I can't go to the one at Princetown where I'm one of their local councillors, but I'm committed to going to the one here. And again, it is, whatever your views might be, it is nice to see the council well represented on that day, because we do represent the people of Tavistock, and a substantial proportion of those people believe and find Remembrance Day comforting. So it's nice to see the councillors supporting that particular event. Councillor Moody, sorry.
Mr Mayor, I'd just like to, I don't know whether you've been advised, but unfortunately I won't be able to make your civic service because I'm attending a function for a 90th birthday party which in Milton Keynes, which has been in arrangement for 12 months. So I do apologise that I can't make it. I'm not sure whether you've had official notification yet. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we've had.
But I hope you can make mine on the 22nd of October.
It is in my diary. As is this coming Sunday through Oakhampton. So, but I mean, after what you've just said, I might decide to sulk. We'll see. Item 12, I have none. So if we move on to item 13, thank you very much.